Welcome to Dreaming the Light. I'm Joanna, your guide on this transformative dream journey. In this podcast, we will explore the world of dreams, sleep, and rest, uncovering their remarkable healing potential, even in the most challenging times. Discover practical tools to navigate nightmares, anxiety, and trauma-related sleep issues, as we embark together on a quest to unlock the healing power of your dreams. Hello, everyone. Today I'm speaking with Bambi Corso-Steinmeyer. She is a dream author, dream tracker, and life coach. And I'm really excited to speak with her today about how we can track our dreams to improve our life. So welcome, Bambi. I am very happy to have you here today.
I am honored to be here with you, Joanna. Thank you for the invitation.
You're most welcome. Bambi, one of the things that it's not really related to dreams, but I am so curious about is your name. I think you have such a unique and beautiful name. And I was even telling my husband earlier today, like, oh, today I'm interviewing Bambi. And he's like, looking at me like, yes, that's her name. That's a real name. So would you like to share, like, how did you end up with this beautiful, unique name?
Oh, my gosh. Thank you. And it's fun because I get the question so often, Joanna, that I actually did an Instagram post like 2 years ago about this. So the movie Bambi came out in 1942.
Right.
And my mother was a young girl at that point. And she said at that time, if I ever have a daughter, I'm going to name her Bambi. And then many years later, she did. And I ended up with the name Bambi.
Wow, that's so wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, so let's hop into dreams.
Okay.
Bambi, how did you start on this path of dreaming, of developing interest in dreams?
So when I was a young girl, I think I was always interested in them anyways. It was just one of those things where I was just a very curious child. I was a big introvert, but I was very curious. And I kind of kept track of them a little bit growing up, not a lot. But when I was 15, I specifically remembered having a dream that was my pivotal point in my dreamwork journey. And I thought, there is something about this that is so much bigger than what I understand dreams to be, which got me onto a whole journey of discovery and looking for information about dreams. And at the time, of course, there was a lot of dream dictionaries and there wasn't a lot of books on dreams, but I was really finding that the dictionaries were not telling me what symbols and what things were meaning for me. And I have literally spent my life studying dreams when I wasn't working in corporate America and just really gathering the knowledge and the wisdom and the information about dreams so that I can use them for myself and help others as well to understand them.
And did you have encouragement from your family, maybe your parents? Did they encourage you? Would they like to hear your dreams when you were a child or teenager, or it was like discouraged? I don't know. How was that for you?
That's a good question. They were encouraging on me just being on a path, but I don't remember us sitting around talking about dreams very often. Once in a while. My mother is somebody who had a really interesting dream experience that was very traumatic. But I remembered it as a child that, kind of to this point that there is even an intuitive function in dreams that something came to her one night and she couldn't see anything. She just could hear a woman yelling. And 2 weeks later, my mother was in a head-on collision, and all but 2 people in her car were killed instantly. And in the aftermath of that accident, in those moments right afterwards, the same thing that had come to her in her dream was playing out in her waking reality. So I remember that as being something that in its own way was encouraging, that we can tap into another way of knowing.
Yeah. And did you yourself experience such dreams when you were young, like even before you dove so deep into dreams? Was this something that you said, like, how I can, access this kind of wisdom? Like, how do I do that? Or this happens spontaneously for you?
It started, I think sometimes we have to We have to, and as a dreamer, you will understand this completely. When you start writing them down, you have an ability to notice the synchronicities in a much larger way than you do when you don't write them down. Because though we have the best intentions of thinking that we're going to remember the dream, I'll never forget this. This is such a big deal. But we do. And so in the tracking, which is the journaling, that was what gave me the ability to start really noticing the synchronicities between what I was dreaming and waking life. And it was, I mean, I remember one thing that was so simple, Joanna. I mean, just a little tiny, but it's one of those things where, again, it gets your attention and you go, something about that. I had a dream about a snake one morning.
Yeah.
It was like in my mid-30s. And I walked out my front door, and because I had snake on the brain, from the dream, something just caught my eye. I saw a tiny, tiny movement under a brick. And I looked, and there was a snake there. And not that that is anything big, not that it's anything important, but I think that we have the ability to have a heightened sensibility when we're keeping the images in our consciousness, when we're journaling about them, that we do start noticing things in our waking world around that start kind of supporting the information we're receiving in dreams sometimes.
Yes, it's so true. Because I think it works kind of both ways. If something appears in our dream, there is big chance, at least from my experience, that we will encounter similar thing or symbolic meaning of the thing in our waking life, but also maybe because we start to pay attention to something specific, Is it like you said, maybe your senses were heightened because you had this snake and you were like, is there a snake around maybe? And I feel that when we work with the dreams, it helps us connect to our intuition and maybe even trust ourselves better.
Yeah.
Because we say, hey, if I can receive information that it's hard to say from where this information is coming, right? How do I know, or I can predict some stuff? So maybe the hunches that I feel in the waking life, they are also valid. At least this is something that really, really worked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I think we sometimes might even dismiss the fact that just our physical bodies are also a living organism.
Yeah.
And so, this living organism of ours also creates and generates energy, but we pick up on energy, not just through the senses, the feeling and the eyesight and the hearing, but we pick things up because we can sense things around us.
Yeah, that's so true. And for me, dreaming is like one of the best way of picking this information, connecting to this place of knowing, because I myself grew up in the household that was quite conservative, and I was always told that someone else know better, right? Like the priest know better, and the parent know better, and the school principal know better, and then your boss knows better. Like everyone knew better. Kind of, this is what I was made to believe. And there was never like this place for, hey, can I know things? Can I know for myself? What is even simple things like what is good for me or what is not good for me? Like not even saying about any big things, like even small things. And when I realized that there is this place, that there's the information that comes in the dreams when I have some dilemma, or I'm not sure about something, or I feel some fear and I'm not sure why, and then some maybe clarification come in the dream, then I said to myself, hey, I can know things. So it means that everyone can. And it really connected me with other people and made it somehow my mission. And something that I really love doing and showing people is that we really possess a lot of information and wisdom and knowing. And dreams, for me, it's like one of the easiest way to access it if we put a little bit of effort, right?
Absolutely. I love what you just said, because I think this is kind of the piece that people don't realize often, that we go out in the world, we work out, we study yoga, we do things to improve, we read our books, we do all this. But one of the things, probably one of the main things that we have, is our dreams and our intuition. We are born with that. That is a gift. We are born with an internal navigation system that is a guidance system. And you're so right. If we just can learn to pay attention and work with that and integrate that in our life, we have no idea the kind of information that we can tap into.
Yeah, I totally agree. Would you like to maybe share some examples of yours or of your clients that you were given permission to share, of like example of dreams that were really brought some important information or wisdom to the person?
Oh, yes, gosh. Oh, there's so many.
I'm sure.
I think I am going to I'll tell a brief dream series because it's in my book and I have permission to share this one.
All right.
There is a woman that I knew from the gym, and she came rushing up to me one day and just said, I have got to talk to you. I keep having dreams about babies. And she goes, but something keeps going wrong. And I am worried that I'm getting a message that I'm supposed to have another baby. And she had 4 children, 13 all the way up until approximately 20 at the time. So all I did is I said, okay, I'm going to ask you to write down everything that you can remember for 2 weeks. And then you and I are going to get together and we're going to talk about this. Well, she had never journaled any dreams. Yeah. I gave her some of my favorite dream journaling tips because, that's a piece of it. And 2 weeks later, we met. Now, she had sent me everything before that. So I was able to look through all the dreams and find kind of these footprints of pattern and sequence and information in that I could start asking her about. The short version to the end of this is in working with the dreams. So she kept dreaming about being in the living room of her house, and there would be furniture in the middle of the room, and she couldn't get to where she was going, or she's tripping and falling over the furniture, or that the kids were making all kinds of noise, or it was a mess, and then there was these pieces with the baby who was also in the living room, but then was also showing up rolling down a hillside, or something happened and she thought the baby had died, and all different dreams over these 2 weeks. Ultimately, through our conversation, what she came to understand, right? Because I'm the question asker, I'm the detective and the investigator. She's the dreamer, so I don't tell her what the dream means, but I help her. How do you see this bigger? What we recognized was that her living in her home, she was doing everything. She was she was your typical working mother, raising 4 children, just so busy, doing everything. She wasn't getting a lot of help around the house, and she didn't have any time for herself, but she had this little seedling of a desire to learn photography. And every time she would think she could start maybe learning about this, something would happen with the family. It would shoot her off on a whole nother track, and she was never able to really start studying photography. It was such a big aha moment for her because the baby was the photography. That was the new life that was trying to be nurtured, that was trying to grow, that was trying to get nourished, that apparently was dead or rolling away from her.
Yeah.
In that aha moment, when she recognized that was really a part of her own life that she really needed to nourish and take care of and baby, right?
Yes.
She went home the same night and had a huge family meeting and told all of her family around the table, look, you're all big enough to do all this other stuff. I don't have to do everything. You can help. And I have this thing, and I want your support in doing this thing. And when she had the dialogue with everybody, they were all on board. They were on track with it. And she was able to start pursuing this dream of hers of learning photography. Fast forward even now. So it's been approximately 4 years, I think, since that story was written and when I had published it in the book. To this day, if she has a dream about a baby that's in any kind of distress, a camera that's falling apart in her hands, or even something like an injured animal dream, she always recognizes this always comes back to her own self-care, that she's not making the space and the time to nourish her own soul and do the things that she needs to also do in addition to raising her family. So it's just my favorite example because her photography is insanely beautiful.
Wow.
Wildlife. She takes wildlife photography. And I can't tell you how amazing it is to see that progression just from having this beautiful woman pay attention to her dreams for 2 weeks.
Wow. Yes, it's incredible. And I think there's so many like important points in the story that you just shared. One is that it most likely your dreams speak in metaphor. And I always say this to people because many times if someone maybe doesn't have an experience or doesn't have information on how to look at dreams, many times people take the dream images literally. Like this lady, right? She started to get scared that maybe it's a sign she needs to have another baby, like literal
Right.
baby,
Literally.
right? So that's thing number one, that the dream usually, for me, from my experience, speak in symbols, right? So it's what the symbol means to you. And the second thing is it's about the recurring thing of this dream. If the dream keeps coming back, so most likely there's really something important there to look at. And when it's actually even, there is one more thing. The finale of the story is that she took an action based on what she understood, because you haven't told her, right? Like your dream means this and that. You help her understand herself what her dream means. And then she took an action and then it had a beautiful outcome. And I think that this part of taking action, it's also so important. And we need to highlight it because only maybe understanding your dream, it's like when we do inner work or any kind of work, like only understand something, it's just like a part. It's very important, but it's only a part, right? Later comes what do we do with that? So she really like took it into her hands, literally, like she sat down her family and thanks to that made time to develop this beautiful passion of hers. And it's all thanks to dreams. So yeah, that this is a really, really incredible example. Very practical as well.
And it is. And I also really appreciate your point about taking action. My dream tracking principles are very simple. They're very simple, but my fourth and final one is honor the dream. And it's all about taking some kind of an action. And not that we have to take one on every single dream, but when we start noticing a thread in dreams, the baby keeps showing up. There's a particular color or an emotion or a situation that keeps recurring in these, maybe even in completely different scenarios. Usually this is some kind of a call for us to do something, and it's usually in ourselves. It's going to be a tweak or a shift or a new perspective about something or some kind of a change that, hey, this is maybe keeping me from living my best life or my next step, or it's keeping me stuck. So the taking action piece, to your point, is crucial in really mining the gems out of your dream work.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. Yes, I love the metaphor. Would you like to share with us a little bit more about the dream tracking method that you developed? What is dream tracking? I heard you mentioning being detective, and I really love it because I'm also like detective in dreams in life. Like I love to look for cues and for hidden meanings and stuff like that. So I really love that you use this metaphor. So what is dream tracking?
Oh, thank you for asking. So again, this was really all born out of my own dream journaling, Joanna. Because over time, I started realizing, again, back to the importance of writing them down, there are so many little things that we miss if we don't write them down. And so as I started writing them down over the years, I started recognizing, well, that's really interesting. Maybe it was, and I have a lot of series that tend to go on at the same time, but it may have been, like I said, a color that was something or whatever it was. Anyways, I realized that we are constantly being left clues in our dreams. So in the journaling, we notice the clues. We can start putting together that, well, there's a little bit of a pattern here. And so the tracking is literally just trying to keep track of what are the symbols and the metaphors and the images that are showing up and how are these informing me? And so in dream tracking, I've got 4 principles. The first one is engage your curiosity. Simple, but just stay curious.
Yeah.
Open mind. So keeping an open mind and just staying curious about what is this image? What could this be speaking to about for me? The second one is explore your emotions. I have gotten really into highlighting the emotions in dreams because we don't always add them in our dream telling. We might say, well, I was really scared. But if we start looking into the emotions of the dream, we can really gauge where we're at with things and how those emotions may be speaking to something that we obviously have going on in our day-to-day life.
Yeah.
The third principle is follow the tracks. And so in that, I just teach people how to start paying attention to these pieces that are recurring and what to start doing about them. How to start gathering as much information, how to be the detective, but then turn it into how to solve the mystery, right? And then the last one is honor the dream, like I had mentioned about taking an action, even if it's just saying thank you to the dream time, just being grateful that you were given the gift of a dream.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And why did you decide to call it dream tracking? Like, were you inspired by nature? Because for me, tracking is like tracking an animal, like going in the forest and looking at the footprints and stuff like that. Was it like this connection to nature that influenced the title of the book or something else?
So this is so funny. Yeah. So yes, I am always informed by nature and animals. I love them. I am absolutely passionate about nature and animals. But what's interesting is I knew so many years ago, I knew when I was 5, I wanted to write a book. I just didn't know what I was going to write about at that point, right? And I grew up, but in 2002, I literally woke up from a dream with the name of the book and the full idea for the tracking. And I imagined that Robbie Bosnack wrote a book, right? Tracks in the Wilderness, I think it's called, but it was also about dream work.
Yeah.
And I think that clearly also informed this idea, but also because I am so fascinated by observing the natural world or watching the animals and seeing how everything works together, right? From the earthworm to the eagle. There's every living thing is some crucial piece to the whole. And if we go into the microcosm of that is our own becoming too, right? Every single piece of me. So that's how that happened. It was given to me in a dream.
Wow, that's so amazing. Yeah. Were you given just the title or also the outline of the book?
Just the title and the idea, though, of tracking images. So and I use the example of Jane Goodall in the book to try to explain the idea of tracking, because I know it can have a couple of meanings when it comes to animals, and mine is purely educational and excitement oriented, that it's just following the animal to see where it goes, following the dream to see where it goes. What are the little fibers left on the bushes or the footprints that are some part of us understanding what it is that we need to know? And so because dreams, I believe, come to us so much on behalf of wholeness and healing and are always helping us to work through things and understand ourselves better, it just felt like following these tracks is literally like following ourselves home. They are the breadcrumbs that lead us back to our true, authentic self.
Yeah, I also believe that so much. Would you like to share maybe an example of your dream that you felt that really helped you, like in a moment of dilemma or crisis, or when you needed a healing, like some dream or dreams that help you?
It's interesting because I have a handful of dreams that have come to me almost as preparation dreams.
Okay.
Which is interesting. And I know I've had more of the other ones also, but sometimes these dreams come as and I don't want to call it a warning because that sounds way too scary and that's not how I mean this, but they do come as look, something may be coming in your life and it might be in your best interest to prepare a little bit, or at least, again, have your antenna up around something that is happening. As far as a specific example, I do remember I was going through a really difficult breakup back in the 90s. and somebody just deeply cared about, and still just wasn't going to be the right person. And in the dream, I am taken down inside of it's a torture chamber run by a gigantic polar bear.
Wow.
And it was like an igloo. And everywhere I look are all these torture devices. And I'm looking around the dream and I am terrified of what is going to happen because I know this is going to be torturous, just like the breakup.
Right.
And I end up somehow leaving that area. No memory of actually moving through all that, but I end up at the end of the dream talking with a Native American medicine man. And he basically just tells me, look, you will get through this. You will get through this. And so in the midst of being in the torturous, torturing my soul breakup, there was still something of the other that was saying, but you're going to be okay. And I was able to hold on to that through that. And it was torturous. And there were multiple types of torture, right? It's like all the ways that we undo a life with somebody. So it was helpful. It was healing. It was beautiful in its way that it, used this Native American medicine man to assure me that you'll get through it.
Yeah, that's very, very encouraging. And I think what you said about the dreams that maybe not warn, but prepare us for something or encourage us or to show us the possible outcome, they can actually be super helpful because sometimes it's like when we intuitively know that maybe, because I believe that we get this dream when we already, perhaps there is some part of us that already knows something, but maybe it's very deep, deep, deep down, and then the dream comes. And then if we really listen, so it clicks, right? So it's like, yeah, I knew most likely this person was not right for me. And the breakup is hard because they are usually very hard. But there is this encouragement that even though the dream was scary or maybe a little bit unsettling, there was this voice at the end that said, you will be okay. You will go through this. And it came through such a powerful symbol as a Native American medicine man.
Right.
And I also find this very interesting that many times when people have nightmares or like very strong anxiety dreams, many times people just focus on, there was something really terrible happening and they miss that maybe at the end, like someone tells me like, yeah, and this was this and this and that. And I say, but at the end, what happened? It's like, well, at the end, I was fine. Or no, because actually the dream ended when they didn't really catch me. Or like, all kind of stuff like that we tend sometimes to miss because we are focused on this emotionally charged part, right? Because it's a nightmare, it's very scary, it's very, very intense. But then I say, yeah, but look at the end. Was there something that happened or haven't happened that maybe indicates, maybe, I don't know, but maybe it indicates that this will not happen or it will turn out differently or that you will be okay eventually because you came out of the situation. And I feel that it's like the tracking, like you said, like it's tracking those places or looking like really carefully into, and it connects for me also with the curiosity that you mentioned at the beginning, is that sometimes I feel, and maybe especially people that, they like to look into their dreams, they write their dreams, is that we tend to dream of something and we say, oh yeah, I know what this dream means. Or, oh yeah, this is, we may go to this place when we kind of become like, we lose this curiosity, right? And maybe in those places, this is, the most important thing to do. Maybe for this super experienced dreamer, to keep the curiosity, not to jump too fast into this, oh, yeah, no, I always dream of this, like, and I know, because we may be missing something, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's always so many levels to dreams. They say that dreams are kind of a multi-dimensional function. And, meaning that, yes, it could have a physical component, an emotional, a mental, a spiritual component, or something else. And so, yes, I mean, there's so many layers that we can look at them. And what's fun is that they can all be true at the same time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes,
So
I love that.
And I love what you said, too, about this piece of us that knows. Because for me, dream work has always been It really does connect me to my own inner wisdom, right? I mean, when we're really paying attention, it connects us to our own inner wisdom. And I remember this fabulous podcast from Mel Robbins earlier this year, I think it was, where she was talking about decision making.
Yeah.
And she said, the reality is that we know. We can pretend we don't know. We can talk ourselves out of it and say we don't know. We can act confused and then we don't have to know.
Yeah.
We know. It's just that we don't always have the courage to follow through on the I know piece. And like you said, it's just like, like the Native American medicine man. He is encouraging me, right? Following through on something that, yes, that we know we have to do. And yet the courage is not always there to do something. So we take these bite-sized chunks of things to try to move through them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I really advocate for for establishing relationship with our dreams, because they can be really like our best friends and best guides that work in our best interest always, period.
Always.
It's like, even when someone experiences, again, heavy dreams, nightmare, difficult dreams, recurring dreams, it can feel like the dream space is working against us. But actually, it's not. It's just when we ignore something, it just amplifies. So also in a waking life, right? If you will stop vacuuming your floor, it will get super dirty and you will be maybe stepping into something unpleasant eventually in your own home, right? So it's like, it's just the result of taking or not taking action. So I feel that with dreams is the same, that when people come already with nightmares, is that perhaps there was a message that wanted to be delivered or heard, or part of us wanted to express something and we were ignoring it, and then it comes as a nightmare, right?
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think you're absolutely right. I have that same belief system around nightmares. And it's funny because, most people will think they remember their nightmares. They don't remember their day-to-day dreams, but they remember the nightmares because they're so emotionally charged, right? But to that point of nightmares, we're usually getting little tugs leading up to the nightmare. And then finally, because we have not taken an action, right? We haven't done anything to maybe make the decision to take a small act of courage on behalf of ourselves, and we're not listening, that the dream time has this capacity to just explode in emotion in a nightmare that you cannot miss. It's like, okay, enough. Pay attention. This is important. And so our nightmares have such a healing capacity, to your point. Exactly. They really are there to help us with something, even though it doesn't feel like that.
Exactly. And again, this is the point where I feel that the dream education is so important, because people don't know this, or maybe never considered this point of view. And then there is like the automatic, oh, I had nightmare, I don't want to remember it, I don't want to sleep, or I will take sleeping pills, or I will smoke weed, so I won't remember my dreams. And it's pushing away, right, this material, because it's very hard and heavy. And I feel that because we have so little dream education, it's just people walk the world, first of all, not knowing that there is something that they can actually do with their nightmares. Like, there are many therapists, unfortunately, are not skilled with working with nightmares, but there is also therapists that are skilled working with nightmares. And there are also other professionals that are skilled working with nightmares. So first of all, actually, you don't need to suffer from nightmares. That's one thing that I really... Like, I meet people in different stages of their life. They don't know that. They never thought, it even never occurred to them that, like, you can do something about your nightmares, right? Like, you can do something about having colds, so you can do something about having a nightmares. And also, the other part is not wanting to receive this information because it comes in this explosive way, right?
Yes, and I do think it takes... I think for some people, Joanna, it also takes some courage if they're not used to looking at themselves in the mirror. We all get to a point in our life Sometimes for some of us, it's at 5. We start early and we're just interested.
Yeah.
For other people, it takes a divorce, the loss of a loved one, where all of a sudden we have to slow down and pay a different type of attention to what's going on and realize that we do have access to something that can really be a huge benefit. But luckily, all dreams are not nightmares. And there is such a generative quality about dreams that kind of, it's almost like if we can build a relationship with our dreams, right, they become this invisible companion that is helping.
Yeah.
And, writing them down and taking some actions on them or following the guidance or the intuition is really us honoring this relationship with another part of ourself that has an unlimited access to things that we in the ego self and in the physical form may not ever recognize. So, I mean, it's a beautiful combination when you put them together.
Yes, of course. It's incredible. And it makes me wonder because you are also a coach, right? So you combine coaching with dream work. And I wonder if when you see a person, when they come to you for coaching, do you also look, I believe so, that you also look into their dreams? And does it kind of feel like it gives you such a much more holistic view of the person? Because I always find, and also the limitation of talk therapy for me, one of them is that there's only certain amount of things that we are willing even to admit to others and to ourselves, versus in our dreams, it all comes up kind of. So when someone shares with you your dreams and shares with you their daily struggle, plus they share their dreams, it feels to me like you are really getting like a very holistic view of the person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why the combination. So I was certified in life coaching in 2009.
Okay.
I was certified in dream tending through Stephen Eisenstadt
Yeah.
in the late 90s. And it just was a perfect progression of, like you said, of dealing with the whole person. So if as a coach, I mean, there's a lot of dialogue. There are assessment questions. There are things that we touch base on every week. Okay, what's up for you this week? What's going on? But if I layer dream work on top of that, that gives me a huge tool to assist them in much bigger ways, because it's not just us in our minds talking about what's going on. We're now able to bring in all this other information that's coming from different parts of themselves into the equation. So it's the people that I have done that with, because not everybody wants to do dream work
Of course.
coaching, but most of them are open to trying.
Yeah, that's
And-
wonderful.
And when they do, I have seen faster results for the people who do the combination, which makes perfect sense to me.
See other interesting observations from these processes combining dream work comparing to the one that they don't?
You mean in a coaching?
Yeah, in your work with clients, you just said that sometimes it feels like that maybe they progress faster. People that also decide to work on their dreams when they are going through coaching process with you. So did you have any other interesting observations, like comparison between those two different processes?
Ooh. Well, I would say that I have noticed more synchronicity for those people who, if you're paying attention to your dreams, there is something, again, back to being the investigator and the detective and really staying in that curious state of mind. I love it when Tony Robbins says this: life leaves clues.
Yeah.
Dreams leave clues, right? If we are paying attention, I think it brings us into a much more here and now, so that we are paying deeper attention to things. But in the dreams, because we're training ourselves to look at all the different elements of a dream, we start developing a different way of seeing things. Again, very, very big perspective shift is always really available in that state. And so I think that the synchronicity piece of that starts becoming much more apparent. So for somebody who's not doing dream work and they're just doing coaching, there's this special space, right, held just for the dreamers that is so much easier to access through doing the dream work.
Yeah. I feel that dream work, it totally makes sense what you're saying, because I feel that because of our limitation, as you said, of our mind and what we think, or just trying to understand through pure logic or like mind processes, there is this huge part that is missing, that comes in our dreams so often. Because I find that many times I'm not even aware what's really going on with me. And then I dream something and then I say, oh, wow, I'm really feeling this way because I'm experiencing some emotion or something is happening in the dream. And you know how dreams, when we write dreams, especially when we write dreams in a present tense,
Yes.
I don't know, it can be like a sentence. I am so stuck, and I just read this sentence that I just wrote and I'm like, it's so, like so simple and it's such a big aha. And I'm like, wow, I really feel so stuck. And I did not know that. And maybe I would come to this conclusion by just sitting and pondering on my life. Maybe not. I don't know. But like it sometimes gives like a highway to those places that we may not even be aware, that our limiting beliefs or all kind of things that I always say, that in the dreams, our fears, desires, and beliefs, we can see them. Like once we just understand our own dream language a little bit, we can see them so clearly. So for me, it's like a faster way to growth, to, I don't know, progress, change, perhaps.
Oh, I'm hoping I'll remember all three of these things I want to say about that. Number one, you're so right. I love the present tense, and because anytime I'm teaching, that's my number one journaling tip. Write it in the present tense for that exact reason. Yeah. Because you could say, I was feeling stuck. No, I am stuck. That brings an immediacy of, this is where I am right now. I had the dream right now, and this is where I am. The second thing is you made me think of just the importance of giving a short title to a dream. If I have to take a whole big dream, I don't have to work on I'll bet you on that dream that you had, you didn't have to work on the dream at all. As soon as you recognized, this is where I'm at, and I imagine that might have been the title of the dream, then you know.
Yes.
So there's that piece of just being in the immediacy of the moment and understanding by having a title like that. And oh gosh, what was my third thing? If it comes back, I'll tell you.
That's why I'm saying that sometimes it can be so simple, and it can be really encouraging for everyone who's listening and thinking like, wow, I don't really have time, or it sounds too complicated, or like my dreams are so detailed, because, there are people that rarely remember, and there are people, for example, like me, I remember several dreams a night, and sometimes it can be extremely overwhelming. There's like the other side of the scale. Sometimes I'm not sure which one is better, to remember once in a while or remember 5 a night, which is like, okay, what do I do with that?
And not sleep, yeah.
Exactly. So
busy writing.
The head is hurting and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just this one sentence, this one word that is like, wow, it just light bulb. And I don't need, as you said, you don't need to go into every detail of every single dream. It may really discourage people. So I always say, like, sometimes it's just so simple. It can be so simple. And your cat is very welcome here. I love it when animals come on.
Since she wants to get in on the picture, let's just say hi. This is Tori.
Hello, Tori. Thank you for joining us.
She wants to be part of the conversation.
If my door wasn't closed, I'm sure you would see behind me, like walking or something. So I love when animals comes to say hello. I love it.
Well, and then, again, back to what you said at the very beginning about the action. If I know I'm stuck, I know I need to do something. And maybe the something isn't, some mass, it's generally a small shift, right? So even if it's just, I go take a walk and I really consider what my options are and I'm going to just do whatever it is, you do one thing to get unstuck, even just a tiny thing, and then your dream life, I imagine this has happened for you, but I'll tell you, but for me, as soon as I am almost feeding it with, okay, I got that, thank you, I'm paying attention to that, it's like you're rewarded. You get dreams that show you, like I had this dream the other day that was so surprising, because in the midst of some very heavy 6 months for me, I had this beautiful image of dancing. And when I looked at it, I drew it, and I thought, this is the reward also of doing self-work. I was taking some actions last week. I've been working on building a course, and I spent a lot of time in action working on this. And then I had this dream about dancing and spinning. And to me, that was like, that's when you get on the opposite end of the nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Now you're getting the go, 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 the little
Yeah.
pat on the back that, okay, you're on the right track. This is a good, right?
Yeah.
Because you can feel it, your whole energy shifts in the dream itself, and you experience yourself very different inside the dream. So, you can also use them for the opposite to see, am I going in the right direction? How are the dreams responding to these choices and these decisions that I'm making right now? You could be dreaming of somebody with masks on, or you could be dreaming of dancing. So it just depends.
Yeah, and in situations like that, when you have maybe some like difficulties or dilemma or challenge, do you incubate dreams? Do you ask questions before you go to sleep? Like, how do you, because everyone has their preferred way of receiving maybe a little bit more directed information, because we can just go to sleep and just be open to wherever arises. But sometimes it's like, wow, I really would like some clarity on this, on that. Do you have like a ritual or something that you personally like to do?
I do dream incubation sometimes. A lot of the times lately at this point in my life, I will just say, look, I just want to incubate a dream that will tell me what is in my best interest to do right now. I'm trying to think of any exact examples that I have, but
no, it's okay.
I do communicate with, I mean, I'm always asking the dreams to come, always. And I'm always asking for guidance and information. So I'm always inviting it.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's something very specific, if I am dealing with a very particular challenge, issue, question, whatever, I will be very specific in my dream incubation until I feel like I'm going in a direction that I'm understanding where I should go next.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's again, there are so many ways of doing that, and the best way to get the information that you're looking for is just to really put an intention for it to happen. Like I want to remember my dream. I want to gain clarity. I ask for clarity. And sometimes I think this is more than enough. Also for me, when I incubate, sometimes I will write it down. Sometimes I will do like small ritual that I will put piece of paper next to my bed or under my pillow or something. But I know that just the intention that I'm asking for this connection, that I'm asking for this information, and this works beautiful for people that say that I never remember my dreams. Yes. And then we just have a conversation, not a session, not a nothing. I just say, well, maybe tonight. I don't know, maybe in 2 days. And if I got a penny every time that I get a message or a phone call, you won't believe what happened. And I say, I will believe. I've done that already. I remember a dream after, I don't know, very long amount of time that I haven't. Only because we had a conversation about dreams. That's it. It's incredible how it works. Is that your experience as well?
1,000%.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the exact same scenario. Because people will say, what do you do? Oh, I don't remember. Same thing as you. I don't remember my dreams. I haven't remembered a dream in years. And we'll sit and have a dialogue about it. We're just talking. And I get a call the next day. Every single time. And it's all because they brought attention to dream. I mean, it can be that simple, right? They say if you want to start remembering your dreams better, even just start reading a book about dreams. Anything that just puts dream in your mind so that you're, oh yeah, there's that. I could try that. And it's phenomenal the way that psyche or soul responds to this interest in dreams. It's almost like, again, you get rewarded with something immediately. It's like, oh, they're paying attention. Here's a dream.
Yeah, it's incredible. It sounds like, I mean, like when I say this, sometimes people really don't believe me. They think like I'm just like saying some stuff that are not really happening, but this really happens. Like I've seen it happening so many times, and you are just confirming that this also happens to you. So it's like, it's real. People, if you want to remember your dreams, the first and the easiest step to do is to just put intention and start to pay attention once you wake up to something that you remember.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other tip that you would like to give to a person that maybe now is listening and thinking, let's say if this worked for me, so what would be a tip that you would give?
Another thing I think it's the importance of, well, journaling in general, I think is wonderful. But I think another easy tip that kind of helps for people who haven't been remembering their dreams as much or want to is, I'm sure that you're very familiar with day notes. And, the top of your journal, you make a few notes about your day.
Yeah.
Today, right before you go to sleep, what happened today? And anything that really stood out or anything that was different, anything that may have been emotionally charged in either direction.
Yeah.
Making, write that down. This is part of my day. And then, like you said, go to sleep with the I will remember my dreams mantra in your head. And then just write down whatever you remember. And even if it's just a feeling.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you don't wake up with a dream. Sometimes you wake up with a feeling. Sometimes you just wake up with an answer and you also don't remember a dream. But that's another thing. But it also gives us the ability when we have a day note after, a couple weeks of writing down our dreams, we can now start also tracking, well, what was going on in waking life when I had that dream about the wolf?
Yeah.
And then the wolf shows up maybe again, or another four-legged animal with a wolf-like energy. Okay, is something similar happening? You're able to start noticing patterns within your own life and how the dreams are responding to that. And also what images are starting to show up in relation. And for me, that helps me to understand my dream imagery better.
Yes.
I can correlate it to waking life.
Yeah, it may make it easier to make a connection to a specific aspect of your waking life, right? Maybe something can click faster. Because I did that and then this dream, and that's super useful. Yeah, definitely. Amazing. Wow, Bambi, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this conversation and your detective tracking instinct for dreams. I love that because I'm a detective myself.
I love it.
Would you like to share also with our listeners where they can find more information about your work, your session, your book?
Yes. Thank you. And thank you. This has been such a lovely conversation. I have loved every minute of this. So thank you for the invitation again to be with you today because this is awesome. Yes. So my website is just bambicorso.com. And on there I have all kinds of information about just what I do. My book is available on Amazon. It's called Dream Tracking, Track Your Dreams and Transform Your Life. And I also have a Facebook page and an Instagram page also with the name Dream Tracking. So I can also be followed on both of those.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much
for
this conversation.
Real pleasure. Thank you so much.
I really hope that you enjoyed this show. If you did, please consider giving it a like and maybe leaving a review. And most importantly, feel free to share it with your family and friends. For more information about my work and projects, you can check out my website www.bluelotusqueendom.com.